all journalists to come up with your recorders and put your phones on silent or vibrate. Thank you. Your recorders, please. We'll start this week's press briefing with our weekly updates. Corruption in the healthcare service delivery can be fatal and pose multidimensional effects on the lives of Sierra Leoneans. So in preventing this, the Ministry of Health and Sanitation has on Thursday, 2nd September 2021, signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the Anti-Corruption Commission at the Ministry of Health and Sanitation Conference Room. The document centers around three fundamental aspects: the prevention and elimination of fraud, waste, and abuse. A team from the British High Commission, led by the Head of Communications, Katie Hannan, has on Thursday, 26 August 2021, paid a courtesy call on the Deputy Minister of Information and Communications, Mr. Solomon Jamiu, at his U Building office in Freetown. The purpose of the visit, according to Katie Hannan, is to collaborate with the government of Sierra Leone through the pertinent line ministries in popularization of the pre- and post-activities and outcome of the forthcoming climate change conference to be held in Glasgow, Scotland. The Ministry of Lands, Housing, Country Planning has embarked on the closure of commercial stores in the western area occupied by illegal occupants. The Director of Lands and Surveys, Mr. Tamba Gauda, led a team of enforcement officials to shut down 4 commercial stores situated at Aberdeen Lumley Beach axis. The Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development has held its inaugural meeting with the committee set to carry out administrative inquiries at the Freetown City Council. The ministry had promised to carry out an administrative investigation into the administration of the FCC following series of incidents and allegations between the mayor, Yvonne Akisoya, and our chief administrator, Festus Kale. The Ministry of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, National Tourist Board, and National COVID-19 Emergency Response Center, NACOVAC, have held an operation and security pillar engagement meeting with bar, restaurant, club, and hotel owners on the way forward regarding COVID-19 compliance at public spaces. The engagement is geared towards providing guidelines for the operation of bars, restaurants, clubs, and hotels. A 5-man delegation headed by the Sierra Leone's Foreign Minister, Professor David J. Francis, has on Thursday, 26 August, officially inaugurated Sierra Leone's newly established embassy in Rabat, Morocco. And lastly, as the first 10 days of the COVID-19 vaccination campaign has come to an end, the Health Education and Program Manager, Harold Thomas, who doubles as the lead risk communication for NACOVAC, has informed the general public that an expansion of another 10 days is going to be launched immediately, mostly in the western area. He made the disclosure during the vaccination monitoring exercise organized by World Vision Sierra Leone. This is the weekly update for today. Now hand you over to the Deputy Minister of Information and Communication.
Thank you, Nancy, for the weekly update. Thank you very much, Nancy, for the weekly updates. It's now my pleasure to bring in Minister Mohamed Rahman Soare, to formally give the floor to Honorable Ministers of Basic and Senior Secondary Education and Technical and Higher Education. Minister, sorry.
Good afternoon, colleague ministers, Professor Wurie, Dr. Sengeh, members of the Fourth Estate, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. You know, Solo comes from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, so he does not want protocol breach at all. You know, I was about going out to leave it in his hands to pilot, but he just told me, you have to come and officially welcome your colleagues. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you know, there are things that will always refuse to go off the newsstand. Education, education, and education. So today we have here a full package, a lot more than you bargained for, because the alert was that the Basic and Senior Secondary Education Minister will be here today, Dr. Sengeh. You know, as a very valuable bonus, a very, very important compliment, right, to that is the pleasure of also hosting Professor Alpha T. Wurie. Well, before now, I hear people call him Sababu for everybody, and this is now Sababu for everybody, and he'll complete the other bit, you know. So, both of them are here today. You know, basic and senior secondary education lays the foundation. That's the building block. We are not only stopping at the building block. We also want to ensure that we see the full structure, which the technical and higher education ministry does. And you know, both of these two people come highly recommended. David, we can allocate this whole day to him, and he's achieved so much in the sector, even amidst a very, 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 very deep and low baseline. So he just successfully presided over the completion of NPSE, Becker, and I understand WASC is ongoing, right? Yes, WASC is ongoing. All of this could not have happened without people with the right timber and caliber. Professor Wurie too is here. You know, wherever he's been, he's left remarkable changes in the health. In previous Sababu, we all know what he did there, the proud and enduring legacy there. At the Ministry of Health, he also did what he did to lay the to begin to address the fundamentals of an otherwise broken health sector which we inherited. So these two people will today take you through important milestone achievements of their tenure, and we will be there to contribute to that. All of them, you know, play very cardinal and key roles in the delivery of His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio's Human Capital Development Program. Incidentally, education is key, agriculture, fisheries, and those. But we can have that for another day. So I now have the distinguished pleasure to welcome onto the stand my brother and colleague, Dr. David Sengeh, to take us through critical issues at the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I mean, I think it shouldn't be a surprise because it's a single sector. Just this week, all four of us, the two deputy ministers are here, and Minister Wurie, we're in the same room at different times as we are developing the education sector plan, and we work very well together. So it's wonderful that we're here as well to speak about the sector. I'll mention 5 things, 5 key takeaways for today. The first one is about Becker. This is the first time in many people's memory that the Becker results and the NPSC results came out in time and at schools before the reopening of schools. And maybe we take that for granted. But the impact of this is we're used to people saying after Becker and Sabele. Now the reason in part for after Becker and Sabele is if you're a 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old girl or boy who's at home for 3 months, or everybody has gone to school, your parents are working, you get curious about your body. And most of the, after Beke, because Beke results will come out in January, and Sabele happens in this critical 3 months. And so we'll see significant reduction in teenage pregnancy during this period of time as well. The impact to the lives of families, of parents who don't have to worry about their children's well-being and welfare. But most importantly, in our trips across the country, and everybody knows that secondary school is 3 years, 2-3 terms. But if you lose one term in SS1 and you lose another term in SS3 and with all the other misses, so you never were in a position to complete syllabuses. And yet we were surprised that our kids were not doing well in an international exam that has a fixed syllabus. And this was a syllabus that we did not even contribute to. We did not have in this country an SSS syllabus that was updated. So we did not contribute to the questions that were drawn in the sub-region. And for the first time, my team is developing an SSS curriculum framework currently. And those syllabuses will be developed this year. We have a basic education curriculum framework and syllabuses for basic education, and we're developing that now for SSS. There were 131,822 candidates this year, with a pass rate of 85.37. This is the highest pass rate that we'll also have in the country. And this is at a period when many countries did not even have exams post-COVID. Schools reopened in October last year. And the reason for this is really that as a government and as a people, we've begun to understand the value of education and the impact of FKSC, which will only be really felt in a generation. We are beginning to see that. We printed hard materials that we sent to schools in hard-to-reach areas through our radical inclusion policy. We had a radio teaching program. We trained teachers, and we actively engaged schools about their responsibilities. People like to say, oh, governments, and I'm sure it's a question that will come up later on, so let me just preempt it. They say government schools don't do well. And it really is that we're just looking at the surface. We've not looked at the data. Actually, when you look at the data, government schools are doing well. Private schools own 16% of schools in this country. In many other parts it is fewer, and some other parts more. And in those private schools, just because a private school has a candidate that has aggregate 6 does not mean there are no public schools that have 100% pass rates. And this is where I was trying to explain what pass means. You can get aggregate 6, and that's great. But for us as a government, we want all of our students to pass basic education. Pass to go to WASP, pass to go to NVQ, pass to go to TVETs. And the minister will talk about perhaps the TVETs that we're opening in every district, and as we feed people through to MTHE. But we have fewer schools that scored 0% this year. We have more schools that scored 100% pass rate. And schools like Morialdo, which is a government public school, government assisted school, schools like Morialdo have not had 100% pass rates in 20 years. The girl who came second from Kenema, we don't have people coming second in Kenema across the country. Kenema came first across the entire country. Kenema is largely public schools. You don't have many private schools in Kenema. The child who came first in the south is from Zimi, not Bo School, sorry, not a private school. But what I'm trying to say is it's one thing to go with, oh, government schools aren't doing well. But when you actually look at the data, public schools, government-owned and government-assisted schools are training more students than ever before. More students are passing than ever before. Many more are getting 100% pass rates, and fewer are getting 0% pass rates. So you can't look me in the face and say that's not progress. The second thing I want to mention is school reopening. School reopens on September 6th. I see that people say, oh, government surprised us. It's not true. In July this year, we had a press release that was sent everywhere. All the school principals told the children that schools will open on September 6th. It's on our website. It's information that is in the district. Needless to say, we've reaffirmed and restated that schools will reopen on September 6th because we want to increase contact hours and learning time. There's ongoing WAS. We know that some schools are exam centers, and for core subjects, those schools have already made arrangements for how they will deal with their students. But we expect that all parents send their children to school. The third thing is around the technologies that we've released. I don't know how many of you use the dictionary, *8447#. I get a new word every morning, 7 o'clock, and these are words I hope everybody signs up for. Today's word of the day is repugnant, extremely distasteful, unacceptable, in conflict or incompatible with. You get that every day. You have for primary school, for GSS, and for advanced learners like us. It's important. These are things Togo, the ministers in Togo came to us for us to give it to them. GPE today sent an email for us to tell other countries how to do them. It's for free. The next solution is 8060. If you complain that you have gone to pay a bribe to a school because your child wants to go to that school, first of all, you're the reason. You're the one who's paying the bribe. But let's say you pay a bribe. Call 8060, it's anonymous, and we'll go to that school and we'll hold them responsible. 8060 is our toll-free line where you can say what the issues are with education, and we will respond. And I get a report about this monthly, and my team takes active action on this. The final technology I want to talk about is the 468 SMS ESSD. Over 10 million SMSs have been sent to 468. There is no solution in this country, none, that has the kind of traffic and volumes as 468 has. And so when we announce 468 and it crashes, people are like, oh, the system, you know, they woke. We used to wait 6 weeks to know our exams. We paid 100,000 to know our exams results. And it seems like we lost patience, I understand. But we lost patience when the system doesn't work for 1 hour or 1 day for us to know the scores of our children. But with 468, you can follow the processes, follow the instruction, and you will know the score. And many argue that we've saved over 11 billion to the hands, to the pockets of parents. Somebody was telling me that in Calabar, you had to walk for 48 pounds to come to a town and buy scratch card for 100,000 and then go to the internet. But now you can sit under your palm tree in Fuendu and you're able to check the score of all of your children and know that they all had 100% pass rate.
Oh, yes.
That does not happen. That is what we mean by upward mobility. And this has happened over the last couple of years within the sector.
Right.
The other thing with 468 is with placement. People also said the placement doesn't work. Now, it's our responsibility as parents to be involved with our children's learning. A friend of mine yesterday sent me a message. Oh, he was not responsible for the child's education, it was the mother, but in fact the school that the child went to did not give them the placement score. It was a private school. And that private school said they should all put them for first, but now the child got a really good aggregate and the child wants to go to Annie Walsh. How can we help? There are other children, public children, Sierra Leoneans, who also deserve to go to Annie Walsh, who sat for Annie Walsh. And if your child does not get into Annie Walsh because your child did not sit first option for Annie Walsh, that Sierra Leonean, your brother and sister's child who's going there also deserves to go there. But yet we go and we bribe 2 million, 3 million, and we say the government free quality, no, they work because government is 90 million bribe. It's not fair to us, it's not fair to society, it's not fair to government. And I think one thing that we're doing differently in education is by engaging the public. And I run a series often called Public Education on Public Education, but so that we know that when our children are choosing, it's choices that they want to go to and that they can make. Not just because there's a thing, they say even Babu Sefi say picking fine. It's true. But if your child is not going to get aggregate 13, it's okay to have a conversation with your child to say, I love you, but I don't think you get aggregate 13, so let's not put Annie Walsh as first choice. That does not mean you love your child less. And I met a child at Edwards the other day. The father sent the child to me for Make and Big Me. The child comes and I take the child away from the father and I'm talking to the child. The child got a score of 289 or 279, and they sat for Edwards, but Edwards because it was 285, I think. And the father brings the child to the school every day to come and beg. And I told the child, which school did you get placed in based on your choices? St. Jude. Have you gone to St. Jude? No. What's wrong with St. Jude? Don't humans go to St. Jude? I turned to the father. I think we as a public have a responsibility to counsel our children that if he really wants to go to Edwards in the future, let him go to St. Jude and work hard and pass for Edwards to come there in SS1. That is also acceptable. If we trust the system, if we invest in the education of our children, and allow the choices to work. It was computer, it wasn't a human. Nobody bribed me to place their child anywhere. I don't even know who placed. The guys in the room at the office sat down and ran the algorithm and it placed everybody. Fairly. Based on choices and based on score. That is what justice is. That's the power of technology. It brings justice and fairness in the system. So 468, use it to check your results and placement. 8447, use it as a dictionary and word of the day signature. And 8060, toll-free line for you to call about anything at the ministry. Don't send this to me. Call 8060. They will process it and they will be able to, and if you see corruption, send it to ACC. The fourth thing I want to talk about before my end, or 4 out of 5, was training, some of the work that we've been doing. We will launch 60 ECD classrooms next Friday in McKinney. We've been building in early childhood development centers because pre-primary, this is the first time pre-primary is now part of our education system in Sierra Leone through the FQSC. And I was joking the other day, it wasn't a joke, that America is learning from us, and they said, ha ha ha. Now is the first time America is doing 2 years pre-primary in their system, and they've not even approved it in their Senate. In their package, their bill, Biden is asking to include 2 years pre-primary into their public education, and they've not approved it. We have pre-primary in our education system. So yes, they are doing like we are doing.
They want to.
We're also on Friday, they're going to launch 100 junior secondary schools that have been renovated and rebuilt across the country again. The president will do that. And we'll continue training teachers. But one important thing I want to mention is, again, for the first time, they had tested performance-based financing before. In 2016, I think about 1,000 schools. In 2018, 1,800. But this year, all 5,074 schools, all public primary schools, will get performance-based financing, where we'll give them money separate from their subsidy for them to develop their school and for them to have targeted learning outcomes, attendance, enrollment, transition, to the tune of $19.6 million. We put that in the school management committee. The school management committee will be running that money. It's not us. We give it to them to say it's your responsibility. Now, why does this matter? We promised the people of this country that we'll depoliticize boards of governors, which we have. We also promised the people of this country that we'll train the school management committee, which we are doing. The reason is, when we came, there are school management committee chairs who could not read. They are not literate. There are school management committee members who were fighting with the head teachers. They both do not talk, so they don't sign the bank account. They go and open separate bank accounts, so you have 3 bank accounts for a school. They don't get subsidy. They say government is not giving subsidy. So we're training the SMCs and with the head teachers for the first time extensively across all primary schools. In fact, even though only 5,074 are getting the PBF, we're training all 6,464 primary schools that are public schools in SMC because we care about them, public and community schools. Finally, I'll end on the teacher PIN code issue. We also like to say, oh, teacher, they're in the strike now. Kenema, there's no in the strike because they don't get PIN code. We like to glorify horrible potential. Now let me talk about PIN codes for a second. There are 80,000 people on payroll in Sierra Leone. Police, nurses, teachers, everybody. All the people who are here, who are on government payroll, 80,000. There are 81,000 teachers in the system. So if the government of Sierra Leone wakes up today and says, I want to put all the teachers on PIN code, it's not possible. Because there are more teachers than those who are on the PIN code for the country. There's PIN codes for teachers. Teachers there are 35,000 teachers. That's the ceiling, making up 40% of the payroll are teachers. That's the highest. The next one is in 20-something%. So teachers are more than double everybody who's on payroll. So it is impossible for us, first of all, to give all teachers PIN codes. Now, over the last couple of years, we've recruited about 5,000, replaced up to 3,000 teachers and given them PIN codes. But if we give you a PIN code, you still have to go to the next process of validating, verifying your accounts, getting NASIT, going on payroll and NCRA before you get paid. We've tried everything we can for many of these teachers to go and verify and validate, but we still have problems. We've called SLTU, and now we said, okay, one last time, everybody, SLTU. SLTU brought us list, and my team is right today. They're in Kailan. They finished Kenema yesterday. They call everybody who's on the list, who has the PIN code and not paid, come and verify your information once and for all. We'll do that. But I promise you, when we finish, somebody's going to also make a video dancing to say they have PIN code and they've not been paid. It's our responsibility as media and as citizens what we propagate and how we propagate it, and what the responsibility is to those communities. So I'd like to end my brief before my senior colleague comes to speak and we ultimately take questions. That I feel very proud about what we've done in MBSSC. My deputy minister is here and the rest of my team, fantastic work. I feel very proud of the achievement of the children of Sierra Leone in the Beke and MPSC. I hope the guys who are taking the WAS continue doing well. We don't have lots of practice news everywhere. People cheat here and there. If you see somebody says there's leakage or maybe it's fake, maybe it's not true, don't send it to me. Send it to ACC. Call 8060. Go do something about it. Be a good civic citizen. Take action and solve this, because it's not my only problem. It is the problem for the country. We are doing our best and we're trying. Go and solve it. Go and join us. And I'll end with a story about what we're doing. In Sierra Leone, at MBSSC, we're building a skyscraper. We want to build a skyscraper, a big skyscraper. In 10 years, somebody will add 10 more stories. In 20 years, somebody will put a helipad on top. In another year, somebody will put a restaurant on top. But to build that beautiful skyscraper for education, we need to have a solid foundation. We had to uproot everything. It's rotten, it's broken, it did not exist. We just approved about 275 principals and 100 or so vice principals who were never approved. They were senior teachers and been acting for 3, 4, 5, 10 years. We're building the system focused on curriculum frameworks, new syllabuses, new policies, training of teachers, investing in schools, building schools, developing systems for efficiency for examination, credible examination malpractice, making our public schools safe and secure, radical inclusion, all of these things that you can't see and touch. But for your own children and your grandchildren, they will be in that skyscraper. So allow us to build the foundation. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Sengeh was very loud, clear, and unambiguous. The journey has been long, the achievements have been monumental. You know, in 3.5 trying and turbulent times, we've been able to achieve so much as a government under his leadership. So, this is something that is laying the very solid foundation that Sierra Leone's education system has yearned for all these years. That's here, and is also calling on all of us to demonstrate responsible citizenship. Let us raise those issues that will improve the quality of our teaching and learning. He also underscored the fact that as parents, we must play our parts. The free quality education launch is no reason, is no alibi for parents to abandon their core functions to their children. This is the only country we have over a huge responsibility. As leadership, we are playing our part. We call on all Sierra Leoneans to join us to sing. At this juncture, we now have the privilege of calling on stage one of the most enduring phases in Sierra Leone's politics, Professor Alpha Wurie, Sababu for everybody, and much more. Dr. Wurie, you have the floor. Thank you.
Let me first of all say that indeed this country is lucky to have someone as the caliber of the Minister of Basic Education to run that sector. You know, the investment in the sector, as prescribed by His Excellency the President, has now started to bear clear dividend. The fact that you are getting quality workers in provincial settings tells you that the ministry has been in the position to put proper management structures in place. This afternoon, we are talking about the education sector in general. In fact, the fact that we know the basic education sector is doing so well, that is why we have to be prepared at the technical and higher education sector. Otherwise, we are not going to get the dividend that all of us so desire. This afternoon, the drive is mainly around, we call it updates, but I'll be talking mainly around granting aid. But let's just look at a few things before we deal with the granting aid. Ebola, as a consequence of Ebola, a consequence of Corona, the academic year was dispersed. Every college having a different time to start, a different time to end. We also had a strike action sometime in November 2020. Well, the first thing was to settle that. That was settled in February, and we want to confirm that every higher education institution, be it public university, be it a government technical institute, agreed for an abridged academic year. The academic year started in March, and that academic year would end in September. You must have noticed that the country is very quiet. The higher education institutions are very quiet indeed. Why? There was a major injection of 50% to the emolument of all academic staff. and all academic staff accepted to teach during the rainy season. This is the first time in the history of Sierra Leone that we are running a whole semester during the rainy season. And indeed, the country is very quiet. We expect examinations right across public higher education, government technical institutes to start this September. One would have assumed that if we are going to start this September, if we are going to end this September, then the academic year again will start in October. So whoever we should have supported for the year 2020-2021, we should have done so earlier. Just want you to remember the academic year 2020-2021 started in March, not in September of last year. And therefore government have now put out a grant in aid. So this statement or this whole program is dealing with a government grant in aid. The reason being, as has been expressed by the Basic Education one, the 1991 Constitution of Sierra Leone actually sets out that we should ensure we have equal rights and adequate educational opportunities for all citizens in this country. This is really making reference from basic education upwards. Okay? And currently in Sierra Leone, the majority of students seem to find it very difficult to pay their own fees, to pay their own rates, to access higher education. The government of His Excellency, Brigadier Retired Madam, in the midterm National Development Plan, actually heightened education at his flagship and presented the fact that we are now going to put emphasis on skills acquisition as well as normal and higher education. Note, the SDG 4 is saying ensure inclusive and equitable quality education. For us to be in a position to do so, we started the process for granting aid on the 4th of March. Remember, we said the abridged academic year started in March. And on the 4th of March, we asked people to apply for support if you think you cannot afford it. That process went on for a whole month, up to the 5th of April. This time, we are all now trying to be digital. So you are asked to do it online and use the portal system of the ministry. Some could, others could not. And there were difficulties in some outlying districts. Is that clear? But the bulk of the students that were assessed had to apply online. We received 6,125 applications. 6,125 applications. And from all the districts of this country. And interviews were conducted in July, 12th to the 21st of July. The interviews, not shown as district there, were done regionally and in each district as well. I just want you to note this. Interviews were done in each district. It is for you to determine your district, where you went to school, and access resources from that district. And we had 2 levels of committees. The national committee was one that would take any issues that come up. But each district had a committee, and that the district committee involved anti-corruption representation. It also involved CSOs. I just want you to note that this time we did not go out to make it political. One, every district had the opportunity of selecting based on the number of applicants they had, and at the same time, the Anti-Corruption Commission represented the ministry in all of these. We are dealing with public tertiary institutions. By that I mean the University of Sierra Leone, Constitution Frame College, Commerce, IPAM, Jala University, be it Mokonde or the Bo campuses. You have EBK. EBK have Magorka, Makeni, and Port Loko as well. For now, you have the names there, Miltimagai Technical University. I'm going to address that. But the applications were done as Miltimagai College of Education and Technology and Eastern Polytechnic. Because noting the dates of the the applications and the interviews that occurred before this thing went through Parliament. Now, one thing I want everybody to note is that free education ends at secondary school. Free education ends at secondary school. And government assesses those that could be supported at higher education. It is assumed that everybody that has been saving resources during secondary school would be in a position to pay for your students at year 1. Therefore, candidates in year 1 are not prioritized unless if they are female candidates and unless if they are in science, technical, engineering, maths, and agriculture, STEAM. Is that clear? So, for STEAM, it is not everybody but female. Year 1, every student is hoped that you would get your own support. We start looking at you after year 1, but prioritizing science, technical, engineering, and maths. Yes. So what I've done here is for you to actually see what has gone on. I'll just highlight a few. The largest number of applicants came from the Western area, 2,682. Which is rather a weak mode. And in the Western area, we gave the largest number, 869. However, that only represents 32% of those that applied. I hope you can see that. If I move to Northwest, for example, where only 458 applied, only 458 applied in the whole Northwest. In Western area, it was 2,682. In the Northwest, we were able to give 325 awards. Can you see that? So 71% could receive that in Northwest. Let me go to the North and look at one particular district. Take Falaba. As you can see, only 56 people applied from Falaba. So some people in the Western area claimed to be Falaba. And therefore we ended up giving 72 awards representing Falaba. So Falaba is the only district that you have over 100%. Because people, I think, they caught on to the wave, but caught on quite late. And claimed the district. What we are saying here is that it makes a lot of sense for you to go to your district of origin, the district where you have a secondary school, because by next year we'll go to do now a form of bonding where you serve, and I assume you would want to serve your people from your district. So if I take the eastern, let's say the top one is the southern region, 1,116 total applied from the southern region, of which 548, almost 50%, received award. In the east, Godam, Kenema, Kono, Kailaun, total 1,262 applied from the east, a bit more than the south, of which 572 were given the award, representing a 45%, but a number higher than the south. What I'm trying to put across here is that we do not want Western area to be reflective of Sierra Leone. Hence, from this time on, we are going to do regional and or district assessment, specific district assessment, in which we ask for anti-corruption representation, ask for CSOs in those regions to ensure we are not biased at all, and we support all Sierra Leoneans from their districts of origin. If we arrange this into the colleges that they applied for, you will see the bulk of the students applied for from Jala University. The bulk of the students that we are giving award is 925, Jala University. But remember, Jala University constitutes 2 or 3 colleges, okay? Whereas it is separated for Frabe College of Medicine and IPA. But if you put that together, University of Sierra Leone would have a higher number. Can you see that? But every student that applied from College of Medicine would receive it. And you can see the distribution. 2,750 awards have been given from 6,125 applicants. Now politically, government's manifesto actually heightens certain categories to be supported. Okay? And I want to now reflect this in relation to the manifesto promise. It was indicated that every female going for STEAM should be supported. 520 females applied STEAM, and all were supported. 520 were supported. I will jump that at the next 2 and come down this side. It was said teachers, prioritizing teachers. This time we addressed teachers that have served 25 years, that had children within that applied for awards. 100 teachers applied that have served for 25 years. 90 of their beneficiaries were supported. The others were for postgraduate programs, not on undergraduates. That's why they were not supported. 90 were supported. Okay? We said we are going to push and prioritize technical and vocational education. 55 applied. All 55 were supported as well. Now, I want you to look at the 2 other categories there. Let's take the military as a start. These did not come for interview. These did not send distinct applications. Their commanding officers listed those they were recommending and put all their documentations together. Of the 45 we received, 41, 90% were given award in the military. Okay? Now, the other 4 were postgraduate ones. I just wanted to get that clear. In the police, 150 came in, but the bulk were for non-degree options. And all the undergraduates in that list of 50 were all supported as well. The manifesto is making reference about improving the quality of the forces that serve us. And to do so is to ensure they get tertiary education as well. There is a group that we are still struggling to address. The disabled actually applied among this group, this whole 6125, but they did not identify themselves as disabled. I'm saying this because governments make a commitment to support disabled in public institutions. Now, we are, however, getting requests from the Disability Commission for those that are in private institutions. And I'll therefore take that to cabinet to get that authority to pay for disabled in private in private institutions. But that, I mean, if you go to Unimark, you go to Link or Green, as at now, the ministry does not have the authority to pay for you in those institutions and will require cabinet approval. But those that are in public institutions, it is automatic. Our problem, however, is who is described as disabled. We are getting worried that the definition could be expansive. Can be expansive, and we might hit a time that we will not be able to handle it unless we have a cap that we are supporting 8 per year, 10 per year, and that is a cap. So we will discuss that at a higher level to get a number and to actually confirm if we can support them in private institutions as well. Because private institutions are far more expensive than the public institutions. There are a few issues I would like to raise. Is that for colleges to go on now, they should be on leave at this instant in time. And I just want to make a public declaration that the Ministry of Finance has already factored in all leave allowances along with the August salaries of all lecturers in public institutions. Repeat, with regards to leave allowances, noting that lecturers are lecturing during this critical period. Government has, the Ministry of Finance have inputted all leave allowances to go along with salaries. Something else I wanted to note, there was a strike action by Kisi Technical Institute. There were 53 lecturers or instructors that were not properly classified. That classification process has been done. They are now recognized as higher education institutions, and those 53, they deserve to get the backlog 50% that will pay to all other higher education institutions, and that has been computed completely, and that will come in their September salaries, not August salaries. Something else I want to heighten, 2.17 billion to pay for lecturers in 10 government technical institutes that were not budgeted for earlier. Again, the Ministry of Finance has done an extra budgetary commitment, and all 10 government technical institutes will receive full payments and their backlog, adding to 2.17 billion and within the September salaries. May I also now end that as of next, this is the last grant in aid in which Eastern Polytechnic and Milton Magai are being treated as polytechnics. We have gone through the University Act in Parliament, and His Excellency the President has already signed the bill, so it's now an act of government. And for next academic year, these two institutions will be treated as universities inside. For that to happen, it means we will now have a chancellor in place. We will not be talking about council of polytechnics anymore, but a university court, and the university court would be put in place as well. I want you to recognize that indeed we are now preparing ourselves for the upsurge that will be coming from the basic education sector. And I think we should end by giving Minister David Sengeh a very big hand for the amount of work that he's done. Let me thank you very much.
Dr. Wurie, this is very good.
I want to
With those two presentations from our Honorable Ministers of Technical and Higher Education and Basic and Senior Secondary Education, presentations that I believe have brought up tremendous comfort to all of us as Sierra-Leoneans. Let me now open the floor and have Imran, can you please come up and coordinate the Q&A? the white make a pick you up. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much. We do the questions like we did last week. 4 sets of questions. We come back and get our ministers to answer, and then we do the next set of questions. Your name, the media house that you represent, and then you ask your questions. The gentleman at the back. Yes, you know.
Good afternoon again. I'm Reverend Vincent Jabimumon, reporting for the New Vision newspaper. For Dr. Sengeh, I want to say a lot of thanks to you for the tremendous improvement within the educational sector. But my concern or the challenges our teachers are facing, particularly schools that have been approved by government and they are taking over a year. Those teachers teaching in these schools have not yet been approved. Is a concern. So our Professor Wurie, what is your assessment? Have you been served within the educational sector for more than a decade for your successor?
You have clapped for him or yes, the gentleman.
Of the Watch newspaper. Dr. Sengeh, your colleague Minister of Information and Communication will attest to the fact that my mentor has never taught me to praise. So praise of the minister, irrespective of what political party he or she belong. But I start to confess, right? To congratulate you for the good work you've done, because everywhere you go, your name is in the millions of homes, and your name shines like the northern star. And I hope that other ministers and president, this government will imitate it soon. You revealed to us the responsibility of where readiness is all about. Now, I'll promise you this. If I go out on the street, radical as I am, radical as my former boss, if I meet a woman struggling because she has to be doubled for her school, I'll take responsibility or to go to the corruption to the ACC. Associate Professor, I just want to give you information that is out of Sierra Leone. When you go back to your honorable officer, I want you to investigate this. There are about 80 Sierra stranded in Sudan who were given scholarship by the former president of that country, Umar al-Shabaab. The Revolutionary Council of which ousted Shabaab has announced to all Sudanese that we are on the scholarship that they better come home back, because they withheld their scholarships and they will not give them back. Anyone who studied in the university in Sudan should pay $3,000. And remember, in Sudan, students on scholarship have no opportunity to work. Unemployment is high. Most of them want to go to Egypt to pursue their Islamic undergraduate and postgraduate studies, but they have no money. So as I'm talking to you now, last night a doctor called me from Sudan to express, to pass this information so that I will pass it to the general public. Fortunately, I did it today on the registration, popular registration here, and thanks to the Minister of Information for inviting me here. Now I'm passing the information to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we take the next question, may I just acknowledge the presence of the Minister for Political Affairs, my esteemed uncle, Ambassador Leone. Welcome, sir. Next question. Any more? Yeah? Minister Sengeh, if you like.
Thank you. I will start with the teachers and school approval. 3 things. What does it mean for a school to be approved? Firstly, we'll have a new school approval policy and guideline that will come out this month. There was no school approval guideline or policy, and we've been working on it for the last year and a half. One, in the Education Act, you're approved to be established. There are many schools that just set up as mushroom schools, and they did not have approval for establishment. We'll be able to approve most or many of those. But when you're approved to be established, according to the Act, you need to be functional for 3 years before you can get government support. But because of FQSE, that we had to support many schools. Approval to be established does not mean approval to benefit from government support. Approval to benefit from government support does not mean approval to get teachers. This is very important for us to understand, because many people say, my school has been approved, but I don't have teachers. Those are very different. Number one, you apply for approval for establishment to start a new school. If you don't have it, get it. Approval for government support and financial assistance that will come after you have demonstrated that you can run a school, because you need to have a plan and a vision for running a school. And why does this matter? We don't just want schools everywhere, because as you rightly said, for a school to exist, you need teachers. And if we don't have enough teachers to teach in those communities, the school should not exist, especially if it's in the same catchment area. So as a government, we developed what we call the School Catchment Area and Development Plan, and that policy is online now. It tells us where schools are, depending on the number of children today and in the future, and the consideration of the teachers who are available. Application for financial approval means government gives you subsidies and tuition for all the students that you have. And for teachers, I think I did say, it is impossible for government to recruit teachers because there are 80,000 people on government payroll and there are 81,000 teachers and only 25,000 on payroll. You must understand then that government relies greatly on community. That's why community teachers are wonderful. They're a blessing to all of us. We have community teachers, we have volunteer teachers. I'm sure many of us here pay for teachers in our villages where we come from. And the subsidy we give and the performance-based financing grants, 20 million that I just spoke about, goes to supporting those community and volunteer teachers as well. But now, and this is some message that I'm spreading around the world, globally, the way in which we've thought about education before COVID and now is not going to work. School in 1900 and 1800, school in 1991, and school today requires a different model. What do I mean by that? First of all, the purpose of education in 1900 was we all come, we sit in the roll box, we learn how to read, John is a boy, John is a boy, John is a boy. And we graduate, because we have to go and tell our colonial masters, John is a boy, and we're administrative clerks. That's what we did. And you know how many people graduated from school? 2,000, 5,000. Just WASP, we have 161,000. So if you go and teach 400,000 candidates in MPSC, Becker, and WASP, John is a boy, and they all graduate, what do they do with life? They can't all sign documents, John is a boy. So we need a new model of education. And for that new model of education, yes, we need teachers, but we have to think outside the box about what school and learning is. The best thing I saw on the slide from Professor Wurie was Tibet. 100% they all got scholarship. And I think it's such a fantastic thing that the MTHE is embracing Tibet and doing Tibet all across the country. Because when you get Becker, you can go to Tibet and begin to earn money and begin to make a living. So yes, first of all, I want to thank all the teachers. We appreciate them, they are heavenly. It's a profession of service and a profession of love. We can't pay them enough. But invite all of us to support those community teachers as well. In terms of, thank you very much for the compliment, but don't thank me, thank President Bill. I think in the past I used to think about leadership as, well, there are many people who don't necessarily think the leader matters. But the reason why we have a revolution in education is only because of President Bill. If President Bill was not the president, who made free quality school education, who made us here the ministers of education, who every day focuses on and shares content on education, we would not have taken it seriously. So I recognize and I thank you and the team for all of us, but when we go home and where we are, it is because of His Excellency President Bill. That's why education is being transformed. So we cannot take that lightly. And I suppose because the Minister of Political Affairs is here, I must say you have to vote for President Bill again if you want this education to
Thank you, Minister. I think the only question we have here really is the one relating to the 80 Iranian students in Sudan. I would encourage that we have a student secretary and we have a desk in place. If you can direct this query to the ministry, we can see how we address it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Thank you very much.
Now, let me just say a word or two. You know, a lot is going on now. And to add on to what Dr. Sengeh has expressed, you mentioned how do I relate the two times. Well, in 1996, I was a 41-year-old man, and we were talking about analog. In 2021, this is digital, and the man is on cloud. That's one. But you need the energy to be able to run the system. Major changes have occurred. The Education Act, government was not looking at early childhood education at all. That is a major input that has come in now. Two, when we spoke about free education then, we were only talking about girls in the north and the eastern region. Just two regions, and girls. Now you're talking about free quality education, you're talking about everyone, boys and girls, from pre-primary to end of senior secondary school. The management that is required is far more intricate now than then. So to end up, indeed, Dr. Sengeh is doing a lot more now than I did.
Thank you. Yes, next set of questions. And then we come to you again.
Good afternoon. I'm from AYD. Dr. Sengeh, my first question is, Dr. Sengeh, I want to know if there are plans to upgrade the 468 technology. What I mean to say is, previously, if you buy the scratch card, you have sat to the exam 4 to 5 years ago. There are access for you to access the results. I want to know if you have plans to upgrade it. If someone may have sat to the exam 4 to 5 years ago, if they have plans to upgrade it. Another question is, I want to know who monitors the system, if it's WAEC or the Ministry of Education. The reason why I ask again is, it's no secret that some people that sat to the exam, maybe they fail, and also they bribe, and when they check again, their result is good. I want to know who monitors it, either WAEC or the Ministry. Another one is, when are we going to see the start of the one-shift system? For Professor...
Thank you very much. Thank you.
For Professor...
You cannot speak.
Professor...
You will come back again with the next round. So I'll go to Adeyemi.
He's asking for his friends now, so they will not have another opportunity. They have a deal.
I'm Adeyemi, and I work for Freedom Radio. My first question is for the Minister of Basic Education. In your submission, you mentioned that people should not be focusing on individual passing marks, rather than you look at the collective passing mark. You will agree with me that many people out there, whenever a public exam, public results are out, they more focus on individual passing mark. And they have this perception that the free quality education is not working based on the outcome of the results that are normally announced. Especially for the past 2 years now, we all see that the private schools, primary school now taught the public exams. So, Minister, what are you doing in terms of educating people out there, especially giving out thorough analysis and where you think people should be focusing whenever results are out? Because very soon the worst is ongoing and the result will be out again, and the same perception will continue. Professor Wurie, in your presentation, I heard you mention saying that you want to seek cabinet approval in terms of including private institutions, so that they too will benefit. I'm coming. What are you mentioning about Leone University? Can you please give us an update, because we all know the issues around the Leone. How far your ministry has gone in terms of addressing the issue of Leone? Because those students are out there suffering. Mr. Minister of Information, perhaps this is, it was not included, but I just want to bring it up to your notice. You are going to be the official government spokesman, and I'm sure you will be in a better position to answer this question. The issue of price of food commodities is a key concern. People out there are being frustrated. Every now and then, if you wake up in the morning, you will see prices of food commodities skyrocketing, and especially prices of local food stuff that are being produced here every now and then keep going high. What is your people also have this perception that Sierra Leone is operating a free market economy, when the importers determine the prices. What is your government, or what the government is doing in terms of either harmonizing or developing policies that will help to address the prices of food commodities?
Thank you very much. I think we'll come back now to Minister Sengeh to start, and then we'll take the next set and final set of questions.
Thank you. 468 was built entirely and is totally managed by NDSSE and DSTI. The 468 platform had been built 2-3 years ago, actually, and with Ministry of Information and our partners at the telcos. It's free SMS, SMS and USSD system. There's a difference between what 468 does and what Scratch Card does. 468 makes you and your children know your results immediately it comes out. So you don't have to wait for 6 weeks, you don't have to pay anybody. As you said, the Scratch Card, your face is in there, your results are fully listed, you can check 2-3 years later. That's not the service we're providing. It's a different service. In terms of one shift, look, there are many schools that have gone to one shift. There are many more that are going. There are some schools currently where it will take a long time to transition. If you had a limited number of classrooms, your Rochelle or your model or your school that is full, that has over 1,000 people, it takes you a lot. You're not going to build additional classrooms there because you don't have land to build the classroom. So for you to go to one shift, you have to reduce your enroll every year and hope that in 6 years, you're able to then have enough people who can fit your schooling. In our manifesto, we said in 3 years. In many parts of this country, it's one shift. I think there are only 3 districts that have schools that are 2 shift. Freetown being the primary one. And by next year, all of the districts will have only 1 shift, apart from Freetown. And the reason why Freetown will not go to 1 shift readily is, as I mentioned, there's no space. If you go to Rochelle and Model, where do you put classrooms? You can't put new classrooms there. So back to understanding why we said what we said. We want all of our children to go to school in a safe and secure environment. It will take time for some of those students. Convents, they're building new classrooms. FSSG. There are many schools that have transitioned and will keep transitioning. To the point about individual versus general and perception, as you rightly said, it's perception. And not because my colleague, senior minister, is here from Public and Political Affairs, but it's called Public Affairs. And Public Affairs is really about perception. And one of the conversations that we've had multiple times is how we can bring the things that we're doing in NBSSU to the public. It's something that we've extensively spoken about. But as I also mentioned, that's why we're here. That's why Ministry of Information invited us here so that we can engage with you, so that you can help us with that. Why the individual versus general? It's a problem I have personally or at home. I care about my child's education, but my child's education is secondary to me. The most important thing I care about is the 2.6 million children who go who are in school. Before now, and actually up to in terms of literacy rate, the literacy rate outside Freetown is below the level that Freetown was in 1961. Today, in 1961, the literacy rate in Freetown is still higher than outside Freetown today.
Yes.
So we can't care about individuals. We care about the system and everybody. And that's what radical inclusion means. The poor, the marginalized, the ones who are on the edge, the ones who are in Falaba on the Guinea border, the ones who are in Kwandu on the Kailan axis, the ones who are behind Bondapi or in islands in Burns where they have no classroom, there's no school. There are many islands there. And so it matters for us the scale, and it's not about the individual. If nobody gets aggregate 6, nobody gets aggregate 7, nobody gets aggregate 8, and we have 90% pass rate, should I not be happy? Should you not be happy? We care about, that's why I talk about pass rates and the number of people. And with regards to private schools, it's not really a cheeky answer, but look at this, okay? There's a child, it's a socioeconomic problem. Somebody's child who can go to private school, they're giving them lesson fee. They have teachers who go there, they eat breakfast in the morning, they sleep at night. They've done this for 12 good years of their life. They finish syllabuses, their parents read to them every evening, their mothers go to PTA meetings. Are you really telling me that you think some other child who is going to a school where teachers may not show up, or their father or mother does not really care about their placement, you're saying that when they take exam, that public kid in general should do better than this other child? It's just socioeconomic. And there's no part in this world, where socioeconomy does not affect learning outcomes and pass rates. This is why, again, I come, and they say now I'm a politician, but this is why we must thank President Bio, because the only way this changes is free quality school education. Otherwise, it was just going to be the same. Private schools, those who have money, they're the ones who keep growing. But now we're training all of our teachers, we're training all of our SMCs, we're training all of our boards of governors, we're having a new curriculum, we're having a new syllabus. Education radio is for everybody. And that's the power of free quality school education. So it will take time. We're still building a foundation. We will get there. We're going. We're still at foundational level. In a generation, in 6 years, in 9 years, in 10 years, we will see that public education. And that's what I said when I was announcing the results. In 10 years, it is possible for 100% of our kids who take Beke to transition and give problems to our colleagues in MTHE so that they can solve them. Thank you.
So just use this, use this. Just press it.
All right. Government at this hall some 4 months back, the government have accepted that the students at that college are Sahelian students. Government has accepted that it was an error of the then minister to make commitment to pay in a private institution. But that error has been made, and the students should not be shortchanged because of that. In this hall, I also expressed that we have come up with a negotiated amount, not amount, a negotiated percentage to pay. The difference, however, is when that percentage becomes effective. 2018, 2019 academic year, or a year before that. The Ministry of Finance is working that out. The intention is for those students to be back at college start of next academic year in October. That is the intention. Whatever the gaps that may arise, we will solve that. But we expect the students to go back and complete. There are 320 diploma students that in fact have finished. All they have to do now is to take their certificates and go. There are 644, let me say they are where, I'm not say they are, because some would have gone to other colleges. That is why the audit is necessary. But there were 644 students that require 1 more year as final year. There are about 420 students that will be coming up from year 2 or year 3 to come to final year. Do you get that? All of those we would work out such that they would all complete by 2022, 2023. Okay? We intend to phase the payment out and then stop it. Government did not sign any public-private partnership with Leone. Leone is a private institution. And those that want to access that will do so. When governments have developed a policy to support students in private institutions, there is no harm in us supporting 1 or 2 at Leone. What I spoke about earlier was where these are students that are classified as disabled students. Should we now stretch out this definition and support them in private institutions? That is the plea I'm going to make to my government for us to do so. But since somebody can get squinted eye and they say he's disabled, and we might end up with such a huge number that we cannot handle it. So there has to be a definition of this issue. I thank you very much.
Understand in some countries they are trying to classify obesity as disability. But that's something we definitely treat seriously. His Excellency the President believes that being physically challenged is not disability. You know, there are a lot of very physically challenged people who do marvelous things in life and contribute, you know, in very huge ways to national development. I don't know why you singled me out for this question on the economy, but I am going to be very democratic. At some point, I will ask all man for Rob Mofar. Yeah, my colleagues said, yeah, these are not empty spaces. You know, they have the right timber and caliber, so they will help me respond to this. But first, let us understand the government is very, very concerned, absolutely concerned as a responsible government who came to power on the back of improving the lives and living standards of our people. So, rising prices, which have the tendency of further reducing the quality of life of our people, government is definitely very concerned about that. And that is why we are not resting on our laurels. We are doing everything we can as a responsible government to turn that corner, to address those issues. You also remember that we had always said every year we spend in excess of $200 million on the importation of our staple food, rice. One of the reasons His Excellency President Bill crafted a policy to diversify our economy, right? Now we'll talk about the blue economy, marine resources, we'll talk about agriculture and sundry areas, tourism. We want to ensure that Sierra Leone is reasonably cushioned against shocks around the global economy. So today, I don't know, may I have a farm, I know it's what I grow what I eat. I mean, taking a cue from His Excellency the President, who over 1 year ago, you know, eats what he grows and grows what he eats. He has such a big farm. A couple of days ago, you are also aware that the Chief Minister, current and previous, have very large farms, some of them even market some. So we want to use this opportunity to encourage all of you who says journalists can also not be farmers. Politicians can, they also do. You know, my senior colleague here, Professor Wurie, comes from BT. he probably is into cattle rearing and husbandry. You know, so he's not just, he's a man of many parts. So this is what we want to do. I also know opposition politicians who are into farming. We want to encourage more and more of them. It is not enough that we criticize government, that we do not have enough food in the market. Nobody is bad from doing farming. When the farm products are in the market, they become colorblind. They become detribalized, right? You can buy it as long as you have the cash. Government is definitely concerned about the rising cost of basic commodities. And as a demonstration of that commitment to ensuring quality of life of our citizens, you remember when COVID struck, government initiated the Quick Action Economic Recovery Program. In that program, one of the key fundamentals was ensuring that we have reasonable stock levels in the country so that we do not run short of basic essential commodities. Government put about $50 million at the disposal of the central bank for commercial banks to ease the foreign exchange burden on business people who will import goods. In neighboring countries, you have shortage of basic essential commodities. Sierra Leone continued to, to stay afloat. Again, resources were put into the pockets of, small, medium enterprises. You remember there is about SMEDA, Small Medium Enterprises Development Agency, which gave birth to the Monafa Fund. The Monafa Fund is very, very proud. It's almost literally punching above its weight. In less than 1 year, it's on its way to liberate and redeem many people who have been beneficiaries from poverty. So, yes, we know the challenges are there, but be rest assured, we will continue to do the things we should do to bail our people out of poverty. Because President Bay is all about that. He talks about human capital development. Human capital development is putting people at the center and core of everything we do. So we'll continue to take those steps we need to take. But while at that, let us also ensure that we as Sierra Leoneans engage in farming, even if it's backyard farming. Let us, the various facets of farming. If we do that, we will have enough, not only for ourselves and our immediate families. It will get to that point, we'll begin to export those items. And that will strengthen our currency, and the miracles will happen. So I know we can deep dive into this in days and weeks ahead, but I'm sure, what even Dr. Sengeh has done in the last 3 days, the faucet it, right? Dr. Sengeh, before now people buy scratch cards, they walk long on any distances to access results. These are monies that people could actually have spent, right? But these are now, these now stays with people and they can use it to address other basic issues. And how about Dr. Wurie? By the way, the tabularization, it's awesome. The pictorial evidence, you logically place it in our mind's eyes. We see all of those families whose wards will be benefiting from those scholarships, are getting their own new direction, reaching them right there. Because you will not have to fret or worry over school fees for your kids, right, in university and that. And there's even a bigger secret. Dr. Wurie let it out last time, but I think it's still a secret. We'll have to shout it a little louder on rooftops about the commencement of the student loan scheme. Right? We have seen many bright guys drop out of school, could not pursue their dream careers because their parents could not afford the resources, to pay for them. So the student loan scheme is going to afford those very, very eligible Sierra Leoneans an opportunity to be funded by government, and at the end of it, they have a mechanism in place for them to pay back. So we are a country on the move. A lot of good things are happening here. So let me use this opportunity to appeal to my colleagues in media. Sierra Leone is not doom and gloom. We are cited and respected around the world. It's simply that, there are many things we left undone for far too long. I just returned from the Universal Postal Union meeting in Ivory Coast. I led one of the smallest delegations, so arguably the smallest delegation of 4 people. Others had really large delegations because it was scheduled to start from the 8th to the 27th. I left around 1 week after. You know, people stayed, or we left only one Sierra Leonean there. Some delegations stayed to the end because some of the critical issues were meant to have happened there, including elections. Sierra Leone had not paid her dues to the Universal Postal Union since 1982. And yet we expect to be respected, right? We expect to be treated as a serious country. How could we as Sierra Leoneans have access? Our citizens will never be able to access positions and opportunities at the Universal Postal Union because we are not a paid-up member. If you cannot pay membership subscription, what else can you do? We could not have been able to have Justice Nyata Sama on the International Criminal Court if President Bio did not insist that we pay all backlog that we owe to international organizations. Sierra Leone, the former Minister of Labour, was literally asked out of an international labour organization meeting because the country had not paid her membership dues for long years. You know, so we'll talk about being an equal and respected member of the International Committee of Nations, but we cannot pay every basic subscription fees. So that is why we say at every opportunity that President Bio is here, and he's here for good, he's here for real. He wants to change the narrative for our country. He wants to launder the image of this country and reposition her for Sierra Leone to get her own fair share of foreign direct investment and whatever international support we could garner. So gentlemen, as we write, let us also remember there's a social responsibility, because we have to keep this country whole. We have to keep this country together. There can be no journalism if we don't have peace and security. So even as we write, even as we are angry, even as we want to serve political masters, let us bear a thought for the unity, peace, stability, and cohesion of this country, and let us realize that it could never, you know, we have never had it so well. We have challenges, no doubt, but we have a clairvoyant leadership that remains irrevocably committed to moving this country forward. Join us to make this country great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, for that brilliant answer. Final set of questions. It's not going to be more than two. I see Sano, the hand is up at the back. And yes,
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you all for this unique opportunity. I am Joseph Sano, Hills Radio and Education Microscope Speaker. For me, I think if all presidents were doing this since independence, by now we would have not been suffering like this. So I pray that even after President Bio would have served his term, please let's ensure that we make education a priority. It will be good. Professor Wurie, I went once to monitor the SLG, and my colleagues were all around the country monitoring it. I want to thank you, and for the first time it has not been done in all regions, in all districts. I saw this myself, and I was pleased because I went there to find a way to just find somewhere to at least criticize the bank or not. So I want to thank you. And I had a message for you for the masters and doctorate. They said, please, they want to know when the student loan scheme will kick off. I told them you're on it. Dr. Sengeh, your innovation in terms of the short course have paid dividends to the country, and I think it is a good way that you are going. And the choice of school system is a very good one, and but we have to look at it. I'm going to inform you about what is happening on the field. I think the schools are rivaling among themselves. If you put Annie Wash as first choice and you put Convent as second choice, as soon as they seize it, Convent will not take you again, and there's that rivalry tension among them. So I am talking to you to see how you can sort that, because it is really, really serious. The other thing I want to say is the National Teachers Award. Dr. Sengeh, please let us ensure that we bring forth the National Teachers Award. It is long overdue. The other thing is that public education, like for instance, I tried the issue, the short code you give, and people were complaining. So I have to go, literally I made a video and said, look, if you're talking about telecoms, there's congestion. How many thousands of people are trying to perform the same task? So we have to continuously educate the public. I am suggesting to us as media colleagues, why can't we have at least 1 hour in a week, TV and radio? That 1 hour should be dedicated to education. We talk about issues of education. It will be very good if we can do that as a nation. We have been saying we are the nation. What have the nation done for us? This time, let us do something, because education is the only way that this country will be healed. Automation.
How many more points have you?
Just to automation. Automation. Dr. Sengeh, I see in other countries we automate admission, we automate payment, we automate even other management. Can we split with authorization level? Because up to now, we have problems with people. So can we ensure, because we have all it takes for us to automate everything, so that from admission to payment to monitoring to everything, let it be automated. School management being automated. And finally, can we upgrade the lower schools, the lower grade schools to at least a senior one? Because what is happening, everybody wants to go to both school. Everybody wants to go to Aniwash. Everybody wants to go to FSSG. But there are other schools like the Vine and other schools. Can we support them so that they can be upgraded, so that at least history will remember us for doing this great work? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And the final question. We need to get it to the voice.
Good afternoon. My name is Sengeh from to Dr. Sengeh, concerning the teachers that you talked about, those that are not on the payroll, and I want to ask, what are you doing for them? Or is it that is it the responsibility for the schools to pay them, or the government? And concerning the school also, the choices the children make, I just want to know, are the governments responsible to give the amount of money the school has to take? Because normally, let me say, there was a time we come across a situation where a parent was begging for a child to attend at convent, and she told us that the child sat for preschools, and they call an amount of money. I want to know, is the government responsible for the schools to give them a huge amount, sir?
Thank you very much. We'll start with Mr. Sana. Thank you for calling on everybody to prioritize education, and maybe once we can discuss education publicly, we'll begin to reap benefits for that. I think it's the issue about the codes, and it's, you know, the schools like to really brag, so it's bragging, but it is not rivalry that's making them refuse those who did not get in, or those who chose them as second choice. It's called oversubscribed and undersubscribed. Vine Memorial actually is an oversubscribed school, so if you choose Vine as a second option, you will not get into Vine. And let me explain what oversubscribed and undersubscribed means. If you're Annie Walsh, Convent, Vine Memorial, Methodist, St. Helena, there are many more people who are choosing them as first choice who pass than the number of seats they have. These schools have 300, 400 seats, but they have 5,000 people who passed for them. So if you have 5,000 people who can go in, but you only have 300 seats, there's no way you consider second choice, because it's full. You can't even absorb that many number of people. And when I applied for college, they could, if you just take people who get 100% score on the SATs or whatever, 100%, they will fill the school 10 times and there'll still not be any more seats. And that's what happens in these schools. So I think our lesson for next year And for parents, is to say if you choose an oversubscribed school as your first choice, your second choice and your third choice cannot be an oversubscribed school because it's void. You won't get in. And so we don't pay for those people. If we take responsibility that we did not explain it as well, and parents did not understand that these choices. But we also didn't know. This is the first time we did it. I didn't know St. Helena was an oversubscribed school, or Vine Memorial. So Vine Memorial is the same as Convent. If I had just gone and said, and people came to us and said we should name these schools grade A or grade B. No. Vine Memorial is as good as Convent. And why should I go name Vine Memorial grade B school? But actually, 6,000 kids or 3,000 kids want to go to Vine Memorial. It's a grade A school. So we are not going to name schools grade A, grade B because you were founded in 1808 or 1906. No. We are naming kids, we're naming schools oversubscribed and undersubscribed. Oversubscribed, that's where all of our children want to go. And it's because their uniforms are beautiful, because they are right here in Brookfields, not far away, because they have history, because there are many reasons why. So this year, we will list all the schools that are oversubscribed in every community, and you can choose them as your first choice, you choose them as your top choice, you can't choose them as your second choice. So you will not be forced to go and pay money. In terms of bribing, he said, and we've seen videos, it's the parents who go and pay 3 million. If you go and pay 3 million and you come to me to say you paid 3 million to somebody who, when I go ask them, they say, that teacher does not teach here, and there's some serviceman who's standing in the gate who's taking 3 million. How can you blame us for you giving 3 million to a serviceman who's standing by the gate? It's not. On the Presidential National Best Teacher Award, we've done that in the most credible form. At the district level, at the regional level, ACC, Auditorium. I don't know who won. The only person who won is the Auditor General of Audits alone. And they themselves don't know because the envelope is sealed. The winners have been determined in a very open, students who are part of the interview, police, everybody was part of the interview in a public forum. I don't know who won. The reason why we have not done it yet, because His Excellency wants to do it when there wasn't COVID. We had a date, and then COVID third peak came. And so His Excellency asked us to push it. So on October 5th, World Teachers Day, we will know who the Presidential National Best Teacher Award recipients are in this country. In terms of automation, we have started, as we mentioned, we're automating. Even teacher recruitment, we're going to automate this year. The 1,000 teachers who we're recruiting, we're doing automation, and we're building systems. But the reason why we can't automate everything is humans are difficult to automate. Humans like protocol, and humans like to cut lines. And if you put a system that says no line, and then the Old Girls Association president comes, they will say they are Old Girls Association president. So it's but we will get there slowly and surely. On the teachers who are not on payroll, we do a lot for them. All trainings, we train them. Now there's an ongoing training for class 1 to class 3 teachers in Kenema, Moyamba, Bombali, Deputy Minister, right? Karine, and Cambia, currently. And it's all teachers that on pin code, not on pin code. So the training, we do a lot for them. We just don't pay them from government, but our citizens pay them, and we thank them.
So in the event they get recruited somebody, they are already ready to go.
There are many so let me explain that actually. When we are recruiting new teachers, it is very seldom that we recruit somebody who is not already a volunteer community teacher in the classroom. When we recruit new teachers, we always pull from those who are already volunteering, so that's an opportunity as well. In a few schools, nobody wants to go far, far, far away in the villages, then we recruit new teachers who want to go to those communities to serve. But we train them and continue to give them opportunities. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, Mr. Sano, let me thank you immensely for confirming that, in fact, the processes took place in the districts and there were CSO representations. And the names, those that would have got the award, are unbiased in the choice. That is one. The loan scheme requires parliamentary assent, and that would occur in October. It will be in Parliament in October. Therefore, we hope by the next academic year, starting October, November, people doing PhDs and masters will be in a position to apply for a loan. The new University Act is actually talking about a centralized admission system. So some work has to be done. You know the UCAS that you have in the UK? Well, something similar should be in the new University Act. And some level of automation will allow people to ensure that you don't have a 3 WASC and you find yourself at Friday College to read a degree, and somebody with 5 WASC is not accepted. Such subjectivity will be ironed out later. I thank you very, very much for all your contributions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On that note, I hand the mic back over to the Deputy Ministers.
Thank you, Imran. And I think it's important for us to end on the note of COVID-19 response. So the good thing is we've had 10 days of vaccination surge. 2,000 vaccinations countrywide. We're seeing districts now doing over 1,000 vaccinations a day. So Sierra Leone is really ramping up this, thanks to all of us who continue to do this and calling on our people to come out. So for the entire vaccination, we've done a total of a little over 242,000 first dose and a little over 64,000 second dose. And for the surge, 92,700, which is massive. So let's continue to work on this. Also, on behalf of the people of Sierra Leone, we want to say a big thank you to AVAT, the Africa Vaccine Acquisition Task Force, and their strategic partners, Africa Union, Africa CDC, Afro-Exim Bank, and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA, as well as our global partners, WHO, UNICEF, and the World Bank, because through them, we actually reconciled the figures yesterday, and we have confirmed that 52,800 doses of the single shot Johnson & Johnson landed in Sierra Leone with the hope of getting more. So please, the eligible population for Sierra Leone to take the vaccine is 18 plus. Please, let's make sure all of us take this life-saving jab and get our people to come out and take them. Thank you.